education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you have already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. So today I'm going to talk about No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, please do not watch this video because I'm going to do spoilers, a lot of spoilers, and you're going to be really angry and fuming at me and be like, you spoiled the whole film for me. So please do not watch this video until after you've seen the movie if you don't want any spoilers and to be told anything to do with the storyline whatsoever, right? Just don't do it, right? Because I wanted to just wait till the movie came out before I found out anything about it, pretty much, apart from watching the trailer. Now, let's start at the trailer. Now, for me, the trailer didn't make it look very good. I was skeptical about going to watch this movie. I went to watch it because I thought I've watched all the others. I was in Plymouth, as you've seen, hopefully, from the videos yesterday. I was in Plymouth, well, the day before now, because we're over midnight in the UK, just gone over. But I was at the aquarium. Then I planned to eat in Nando's, which I did, and then go to the cinema. The cinema in Plymouth where I was at was actually cheaper than my home city of Exeter. But I couldn't. I had problems with booking online. I wanted to book even a cheaper price for to see a movie that was earlier on, but that didn't happen. But as it happens, the train that I went back on, I happened to meet two beautiful Indian people, so that was nice. A girl and a guy, friends. The guy is taken, just in case you were wondering. But they were really nice people, and they're in my city, so it'd be nice if I get to hang out with them in the future. And I digress. So back to the film No Time to Die, right? So first of all, I wasn't that keen on going to see it from the trailers. Everyone else was raving about it though, and I kind of wanted to know what all the fuss is about, and it also, oh god, sorry, I'm on my phone at the moment, and I wanted to know what all the fuss is about. So I was really intrigued to see it, and from that point of view. But I was thinking, the trailers, I have to say, the trailer does not do it justice. I have to say this straight away. No Time to Die trailer does not look that exciting to me. I thought it didn't look very good. But when I saw the movie, I was absolutely blown away. I thought, my God, the trailer is rubbish compared to the film. The trailer did nothing to entice me to think it was any better than any of the others I'd previously seen or was really that riveting. But when I saw the movie, I'm like, why isn't more of this in the actual trailer? Or why haven't they got the trailer filmed in a way that it just shows much more of the action and suspense and the stunts. The stunts are absolutely incredible. I'm not surprised Daniel Craig, who plays the James Bond in this movie, I'm not surprised that he injured himself. Thank you for the thumbs up. Lots of love, because in the movie there is so many stunts in it. I mean, there's like cars that fly off roofs and just him himself. Oh, hi Heather, lovely to see you. Lots of love. It's nice to see you. So I was just like blown away by how good it was. I mean, I think they got everything right. They got this really strong storyline in this one, a really strong love story. So that was the only thing that was very different to the previous James Bond movies, where he has got a love interest. Like, he was really in love, wasn't he, with that woman who drowned in the car, I believe. And so he has had really strong love storylines. But thank you, lovely to see you. But I don't. In this movie, you really get to feel like this woman is the one he truly loves, and by the end of the movie, and the one that the whole series has led to this, where he's finally found really true love like he's never experienced before in his life. So in the beginning, remember, there's a lot of spoilers in this, so I have to warn you. So in the beginning of the movie, there's this little girl, and she has a mother. Her mother is an alcoholic, and so what happens is you find out that the kid's dad is no longer there, but he was like an assassin, and unfortunately this guy breaks into the home of the mother and daughter, and he kills the mother because he's tried to come after the father, the husband to the mother, and to seek revenge because he survived an assassination, but all his family was murdered by her dad and the woman's husband. But as he isn't there, he kills the mother. Now the little girl is very, very brave. She hides in a cupboard and she runs off. But when she runs off, there's like ice outside her home, and she's running across the ice, and then she falls into the ice, and she goes underneath the ice, and she's drowning. And this guy who tried to kill her, which is why she ran out of the house, she was hiding, but she ran out of the house because a guy found her. So she went under the ice because the ice broke, and then she was trapped underneath it. And he was trying to, like, he was like sending bullet shots through the ice. But then he did break the ice and pulled her free. And so he saved her life. She was looking in the eyes and he saved her life. And then it switches to like later on in the years to come. And this girl is now growing into a woman, and she is with James Bond, who's retired. So he's no longer 007 in the beginning of this movie. He's retired. He's decided to relinquish his post and basically have an easy life, right? And this woman is his, well, in part, this person said that about it being his wife, but I don't think they were married. I didn't see wedding rings on. I think it was just something they used, like, you know, like when James Bond is on a cover and he's has like, you know, like girlfriends that are like his undercover person. This one woman was like his wife, but wasn't actually his wife, if you know what I mean. I think it was just like something they said in the story, to, you know, to cover up basically the fact that they were in a relationship, but to cover up the, like, his movements, if you like. Anyway, enough of that. But yeah, so it opened and they were meant to be in love and everything, but she, and the reason I don't think they were married, I think it was just something he said to someone in passing, was because she said that in order for them to move on in their relationship, take it to the next level, basically, so she would share all her secrets with him, James Bond, then be given up the 007 title, then basically he would have to let go of his ex, the woman that died. From my memory, she drowned in a car. So yeah, so he goes to her grave because she said only then can we be free, because you're still basically got, you know, aching for your ex. And so he goes to her grave because they're in this city for where her grave is. So he goes and visits her grave, so he still misses her. And in this place where they are, they burn like letters and notes to like burn the past where they're staying. So he does that and says, "Forgive me." Because from what I remember, he got out the car, didn't he? And he couldn't get her out and she drowned. If that's what I remember is correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, that's what I remember. And so anyway, he then, when he's at the grave, he sees this little card, and the card has a symbol on it, which is to do with Spectra, which is the main part of a lot of the film. Is Spectra is a group of people that are basically making poisonous substances to kill people off, biological weapons, in other words. And so he sees this and he thinks, where did that card come from? How can anyone know I'm here? Because the only person who knows I'm here is my girlfriend, that woman who he said it was a wife at one point. And anyway, and then this is when the action starts and people trying to kill him. So throughout the whole film, from this moment till the end of the movie, people are trying to kill him. And I just thought it was very, very, very good. The car chases, there's so many car chases in it. But the thing I like most about Daniel Craig, because I'm not really into the older Bonds, I'm not into older guys at all, I don't find them attractive, and I'm not really, you know, Daniel Craig, I think loads of women would fancy and be attracted to, because they think he's a fine specimen of a man, but he's not my type, you know, he's too old, and he's not really my type, you know. But I can see how women are attracted to him, and I think he's much better to play Bond than the other ones, because the other ones are just way too old. And the thing I like about Daniel Craig is when he plays James Bond, it's nitty gritty stuff. You can believe it. You can believe he's really James Bond. Like, he does actually get her, and it's very raw and real, I feel. My mum was telling me, because I was speaking to my mum earlier, and she was telling me that he actually broke his leg in it, and he hurt himself doing the stunts, and he does a lot of his own stunts, and he felt like he was too old to continue with the Bond movies, so I've just kind of given part of it away. But yeah, so but he's been doing it for 15 years now. He does look older in this, I have to admit. His body looks older, he looks older, but I didn't realise it'd been 15 years. But the thing I like about him is it's much more realistic. I find the other Bond movies are more like, you know, blood with tomato juice squashed against them. You know, it's like play acting more. Whereas I think Daniel Craig, when I see him, it's like real, raw, authentic. You can believe this guy would be among us in real life, like an undercover agent, you know, an undercover assassin. And you can believe that he's, you know, he's really doing that stuff. It's much more believable. That's what I like about these movies compared to all the other ones. It's much more realistic. You can feel that he's real, if you know what I mean, compared to the other ones that just seem very far-fetched to me a lot of the time, of very kind of out there Hollywood style. I mean, some of this was filmed in London Pinewood Studios, and I really love, you know, the authenticity of it. So I really feel, you know, like when he's doing some of the stunts, you really feel like, God, you really feel like, you know, when he was filming it, he must have gotten himself into some messes over what he did. But anyway, he goes back to the place they're staying at, like this hotel place, and he realizes that the woman he's been seeing, being in a relationship with, is the only woman who knew was there. And so he grabs hold of her and says they can't stay there, puts her in the car, and all these people are trying to kill him. And the car is amazing. He's got this amazing car that looks like a normal car, and it's got smoke coming out of it. It fires bullets. It's like bulletproof, or thereabouts. Like the windows are getting bullets taken, but they're not going through. And you know, and it's just an incredible car, but it looks very, very normal kind of car, old-fashioned car. So I was quite surprised it could do so many things. So I really loved that about the car. And it's a very long movie, a very long movie. I had to get up and go to the toilet quite a bit. I have a weak bladder anyway, just for your information. And so that was a bit annoying. I kept doing that, but I tried to do it in place in the film that I thought I could. So anyway, yeah, so this car is pretty amazing. And anyway, he finds out, like, she has a phone call. And when she receives this phone call, it says basically your sacrifices will be rewarded, which means that basically she gave information about Bond, and as far as he's concerned, James Bond, and he's the one that basically she betrayed, as far as he's concerned, because no one else would know she's there. Sounds like you had a great time. I did, Heather. It was really good. The movie was amazing. The Crown was great as well. And so anyway, yeah, so where was I? Yes, so anyway, he drops this woman off at the train station. To cut a long story short, he gets away from the baddies, and it's really, there's lots of stuff going on in the car. It's really, really clever. And he gets away, and he leaves her on a train saying he's never going to see her again in his life, right? And 5 years later, this stuff's going on with Spectra again, and these biological weapons, and they've got a new 007 person, which I was quite shocked about, but I heard something like that was going to go on. So again, this is a huge spoiler. So they have a woman who's black, and she is the new 007, because James Bond relinquished his post. So you've got James Bond, who's meant to be retired, and her is took over as 007 from him. And that was very interesting. And what happens is he doesn't want to come out of, he didn't want to come out of retirement. Obviously, he had the woman that he had to let go 5 years ago, and so he's then decided to be on this island on his own and not get involved with anyone again. And two of these people show up. One is his old friend who's with this other guy that's meant to be kind of a bit of a loopy, like nerdy type of cross between a loopy and nerdy type of guy. So he's not got many brains, but nerds have got loads of brains. I like nerds, so it's kind of a bit weird. Probably nerdy's the wrong word to use. It's a guy that's quite like, you know, like he's not really, yeah, nerds have got loads of brains. I love nerdy guys. So I don't know how to describe it, but he's meant to be a guy that's like all smiley, a bit charming, and he makes himself out to be innocent, right? And I already knew that a guy who's behaving like that in a James Bond movie is probably not who he seems to be, which he wasn't later on in the film. And so anyway, this guy that is his mate, this innocent, meant to be innocent guy's come along with his mate, and this innocent guy's meant to be like a new recruit, and or newer recruit, the latest recruitment. And this guy saying, they come on this island and they meet him. They're like, oh, you know, we need your help because there's stuff happening, you know, and we really need your help on this case. And anyway, to cut a very long story short, things go in the movie, and James Bond does go back to being 007 later on. So he goes back. He's in retirement still, but he's still doing the missions, and his buddy wants to help him solve this problem with Spectre and all the other stuff that's going on with biological weapons. And James Bond doesn't want to get involved, but in the end he does, because his mate ends up in trouble. More than trouble. It's a bit sad. That's all I'm saying. And anyway, I don't know where to completely spoil the movie or what. But anyway, so his mate, yeah, it's sad. And so anyway, you find out this guy who was with his mate is a baddie, not Mr. Innocent at all. And he's one of the people that goes after James Bond as well in the end and keeps trying to kill him as well. And so anyway, throughout the movie, you kind of like are really worried, is James Bond going to survive? Is he going to die? Obviously, the movie's called No Time to Die. I still, to the very end of the film, do not totally understand why it's called No Time to Die. I don't get it. Because in the end of the movie, there is an implication, a very big implication. I'm going to spoil it now, that Bond is no more. But you don't actually see the body. So but you see like blood pouring from him and bombs coming at him, but you don't actually see the body. You don't actually see a funeral. You don't actually see a coffin. So I don't know why it's called No Time to Die, if in theory he's meant to not be alive anymore. But in the end of the movie, there is a twist of the fact that he is poisoned by one of these substances. And because what happens is the guy with the mask comes back, who originally saved the girl, the little girl, who turned out to be the adult woman that James Bond was in a relationship with, that he let go 5 years ago. And she ended up working, didn't want to work for him, but she ended up working for him. She's a psychologist. And so she ended up working with him, and he came to see her as a patient, but then he opened this box with the mask in, and then she knew who he was, and he's like, he basically thought he owned her because he saved her life, and he captures her and her daughter. So James Bond has come back into their lives by the end of the movie, and she said the daughter's not yours, even though it looks like it is his, because it's got piercing blue eyes. And you find out later on in the movie that it is his, and that she basically got pregnant when they were together. So there is some sex scenes in this movie. So usually I like no sex scenes, but there is sex scenes in this movie. There's one part that this woman plays James Bond's, not the woman he's actually been in a relationship with, another woman is undercover and plays his girlfriend at a party, basically, or his dinner date at a party, and she's wearing this dress which shows a lot of her boobs and barely much else. And I'm thinking, why on earth they have to stick that in movies? It's so uncomfortable. It makes me really squirmish. I just don't like it when women have got low cut dresses with showing a lot of their boobs. I don't even know how the dress stays in place, to be honest, when this woman's like flying around kicking ass. I do like the fact that women in the movie are very strong characters, really powerful, really can, you know, kill as well. Not just the 007 woman, but, you know, the woman he was in a relationship with, this other woman that's undercover. She wears this really skimpy dress with barely, you know, barely any bits on her boobs, and she's then kicking ass, like doing karate style kicks with her feet, kickboxing and stuff. It's really funny, killing a lot of the baddies off. But yeah, in the end of the movie, it's very sad, because he falls in love with this woman. They kind of get back together. But she gets captured by the baddie, which is a guy with a mask, and her daughter gets captured, and so James Bond's trying to save them. He gets them out, and then he's trapped on the island, and they've got to blow it up, because if the biological weapons get out, they'll kill the masses of people. But in the end, the guy with the mask is still alive. You think he might have died early on, but he hasn't. Well, first of all, no, you think he's gone and escaped the island, and you think he's escaped this place that's got the biological weapons rather than died. You think he's escaped the place. I have to say, though, is another thing as well, is the guy that was pretending to be innocent early on, that's a baddie, James Bond apparently does kill at one point with pushing a vehicle on him. Why can't they sell kissing scene instead of selling a body? Yeah, I prefer that, Heather. Selling a kissing scene instead of a body. It's much better. There is kissing in it as well. You don't actually see them having full sex, thank God, because it's only a 12 or 12A. And so you don't actually see the having sex, and there's not much sexual activity, so you do see them kissing a bit, but the kissing isn't much. It's more like focused on them going to sleep together than actual kissing, which it's a shame. I think kissing is so much love, so much more sensual, so much more caring than sex. Obviously I'm coming from an asexual point of view, but I just think it is, you know. And yeah, so in the end, it's a huge twist. So what happens in the very, very, very end? He comes face to face with this guy who was the one who originally wore the mask, who saved this little girl's life, who was the one he was in a relationship with, and he's basically got back in a relationship with her and the kid, saved them both, got them off this place, which is like another island somewhere where all these biological weapons are. It looks like an island. It's basically in the middle of nowhere, and he's then telling the HQ, the James Bond HQ, if you like, with the Q guy who does all the I thought the guy who played Q in the James Bond movie, No Time to Die, was amazing. And so anyway, the missiles are coming to blow it up, and he's meant to get out of the whole place before it blows. But what happens is the doors start to close, because he goes back to save the little girl's bunny rabbit. I think it's a bunny rabbit that she left behind, so he can give it to her. But then the doors start closing, so then he goes back, and then he finds the guy with the mask is still there, because the guy with the mask is supposed to have fled the actual scene. And the guy who was meant to be Mr. Nice Guy, who turned out to try and kill James Bond at one point in the movie, before this end part, he actually like pushes a truck on him, but you don't actually see his body dead either. You just see him like shove a car over him, and he's meant to have broken his leg or something, so theoretically that guy's meant to have died as well. So anyway, at the very, very end of the movie, he comes face to face with, like, James Bond comes to face with his nemesis, if you like. The guy who wore the mask, but he hasn't got a mask on anymore. He doesn't have a mask through part of the film either. He only has a mask mostly at the beginning, right? And then the mask comes back into it as something he wore years ago. And so anyway, they both end up in this pool of poison. And what happens is the poisons target people, so they can that's why it's kind of controversial, this movie, as well, because of all the COVID pandemic in real life. Because what happens with these biological weapons, they literally go into someone's body. The person who's hosting, this is in the James Bond movie, the person who's hosting, host as in their body is the host to these bacteria, these poisonous bacteria. They're like little nanomites. They get into the body like little robotic things. But there's two things I didn't quite, a couple of things I didn't quite understand, because he actually has some of these nanobots. I think they're called nanobots, partway through the film, and he swallows them, and they say there's no way that they can go out of his body, but they're meant to, but he can still host them in his body, just he can't touch certain people without them being infected, right? But then it didn't make sense when he kissed her later on. He kissed her before he was on the island, trying to make sure that the place is blown up, but he gets away safely. So James Bond does actually kiss a woman with before she goes off with a kid, but he'd already got nanomites in him by then. So I didn't quite understand why something didn't infect her when he kissed her then. I didn't quite get that bit. But I think they're meant to be for certain people, but I think he touched people earlier on and they got infected. So, but they might have been different types of people. So basically these bacteria, these nanobots, they go in your DNA and they can live in a host without the host being ill. And then when they come into contact with the specific target of people, they infect the people and kill them. So when he touches these people, they die. Or if he came into any physical contact with them. But at the end, he comes face to face with this guy who was a mask wearer in the beginning, and they're in this pool of different poisons, different biological weapons. And the twist is, like, it's meant to be his nemesis, like kind of like the opposite of him, but the same. Because the guy with the mask said, we're both the same, you and me, because we both kill people. The people we love and touch, we kill. And, we come into contact with, they die because of us. Because don't forget, this all goes back to the beginning when James Bond was in the relationship with a woman, and she says, well, you're going to have to you're going to have to say goodbye to your ex because you still haven't got over her. So it kind of relates back to that as well. And so there's some other bits in the movie that I haven't told you about. But yeah, so it won't make complete sense, absolutely everything, because I have left a few things out. So you're not completely told of everything. But yeah, so in the end, this guy who was originally wearing the mask, it's in the pool of poison with James Bond. They're on this island together, and the weapons, the rockets, if you like, coming off to finish off the island to blow the whole place up. Q's been given the order to set them up, so they're on their way, and he's literally in this pool of poison with this guy. And you're thinking, I really want James Bond to get off the island, or where these poisons are. I really want you to go. You're like, go, go, go. And he's too busy talking to his nemesis. And the nemesis is like, oh, me and you are the same, really, because we kill everyone we love. And everyone dies that we really, truly love. And James Bond is basically saying, oh, but I'm not like that. You can tell he's that kind of attitude. But he sees his point of view. And the problem is, he's like, the guy with the mask saying, but you are like that, because at the end you find out that the poisons that he's been poisoned with, James Bond, are the ones that are targeting the woman he loves, the woman that he was in a relationship with years, the woman that the guy in the mask saved when she was a little girl. And he has put poison, James Bond has done it to himself. He chose to still stay there and be there, and like, instead of going off the island with the woman and the kid, he chose to stay there. And so he said, like, you've made your choice, to James Bond, basically, and you're still here and you're poisoned now. And so if he kissed this woman or touched her, basically if he kissed her, she would die. And so he's died inside now. He's basically dead because he truly loved the woman, and he can't be with the woman he loves and the kid that he's never had before. And so he realizes he's already dead. And so it's kind of like he's dead inside, because he can't be with the one he loves. So basically his life has ended like that. And he phones Q up and he's like saying, like, is there any way I can get this out of my body? And Q's like, there's no way. You can't. There's nothing you can do. Once it's in your system, you can't ever get it out again, ever. There's nothing. There's no remedy for it. And so James Bond is like, he's got to stay and die, basically, because there's no point in living anymore. So he makes his final phone call to this woman who's with the other 007, who's the 007, the new 007, who in this was black, woman, she actually relinquished the 007 bit to give back to James Bond for the final bit of the film. But she'll have taken it over again for the next film, who knows. And so anyway, he says goodbye to this woman, with a kid, and she said, because she told him it wasn't James Bond, but she said in the end, yes, she has got your eyes. So basically, she is yours. And he said, Joe, I know. And she said, I love you. And he says, I love you too. And basically, he stands on the top. So he leaves a man with the poison behind, who's got the mask, was wearing the mask. He leaves that guy behind. He actually kills him in the end. He shoots him in the poison. He gets to the top. He gets out of the building. All these rockets are coming down. The guy with the mask, who originally wore the mask, who was in the poison with him, has actually shot him, James Bond. So he's bleeding badly. He's got the bunny attached to his belt. And then when he got outside is when he phoned this woman to give his last phone call to say he loves her and she loves him. And basically found out that is his daughter. And he just stays there. And you see the bombs coming down. And it's really sad because basically they're saying that James Bond is dead. But you never actually see a body. And you don't see his coffin. And you don't see, so for my mind, he could still come back. They could still bring him back if they really want to. He could have jumped off and gone in the water. But you're supposed to believe that he's that badly injured with all the blood coming from him, that obviously he's poisoned now. Can't be the one he loves. He's dead anyway inside. So figuratively speaking, he's dead. But in my mind, they could actually bring him back. That they could make him, like, I don't know, they could make him survive by going in the water, swim into safety despite all the blood pouring from him somehow, or someone actually, I don't know, going over there to see if they can find the body and picking him up and like letting him live a retired life, a secret life that no one knows about because his relationship's dead. A kid can't know her dad anymore because literally he can't be with them because he would kill the mother, the one he loves. So technically speaking, he's dead. So to my mind, they could still do it. So they went and still picked him up because they know where he was. So that the James Bond headquarters to go and pick him up out of the water with a helicopter, he could have jumped off the island. I mean, it's highly unlikely. They put it in a position where it's highly unlikely. He's meant to have died. He's meant to have just been blasted, blown up with the bombs and dead, right? But to my mind, he could have still run and jumped off. They could have got a helicopter or a plane to come and pick him up because at one point, I think they said about a plane. And the woman and the kid went off in the dinghy. So they could have, but obviously the island's blown to smithereens, so they'd have to pick him up in the water. And then he could go and be retired because everyone would think he's dead. And he could just never be with the woman he loves and the kid. So it'd be torture for them to know he's still alive. So to them, he'd be dead. And to the world, he'd be dead. But he'd still be alive and living a healthy life on his own. But it wouldn't be very healthy. It'd be pretty miserable. So that's the only way and they could bring him back into a story like that. Line like that years later, and that she finds out he's still alive, and someone finds an antidote years later and saves the day. I like to think what other endings there could be, because I spoke to my mum and she's like, they've never killed a James Bond off. I'm like, well, in this movie he's supposed to be dead, but you never see the body. But then I don't understand why the title would be No Time to Die, because if it's no time to die, how could he die? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if he's really dead, how would he be dead if there's no time to die? It made no sense. The actual title didn't make sense of the film, unless it means that there is no time to die because he's already dead inside, because basically he can never be with the woman he loves because he's been poisoned, but by his own choice for staying on that place with the biological weapons instead of going to be with a woman he loves. But he was trying to save the world because they wanted to poison the whole world basically by they're just mass producing these biological weapons all continuously, so they infect the whole population basically. So yeah, it was quite a thought-provoking film, especially with the fact of the vaccine. There's a lot of in real life with COVID vaccine, it targets DNA and it specifically goes in those cells. And I think that's why there's a lot of anti-vaxxers around, because obviously when you see movies like this, movies that are fictitious, they're usually based on some scientific research. And so you kind of think like, people, what, with the COVID vaccine, what they actually put in their bodies, because it's not properly tested, is it? Are they putting true vaccination in their bodies, or are they putting some sort of, weapon or something else in their bodies that they don't realize. And that's very controversial, obviously. I'm not obliged to say one way or the other. Really, I'm not vaccinated because I'm allergic to multiple medications. It would be very dangerous for me to take the vaccine. Even paracetamol and ibuprofen together, I couldn't even take anymore when I had my ankle injury. So, I'm pretty screwed. Most medicines don't suit my body, make me really poorly. I can't have them. My stomach spasms usually, and that's what was happening. Even paracetamol, ibuprofen, and because it is untested, and because there's lots of controversy around, I'm apprehensive to even do that if I didn't have these allergies and stuff. But yeah, that's me personally. But I think it's quite controversial if people did think maybe they injects a remedy for his soul for the next movie. Yeah, as far as I know, he's not coming back for the next movie though, because my mum says that he felt he's too old to play the character, so he's actually finished playing the character as far as he's concerned, as far as the public's concerned, and they've got to bring a new James Bond in. So they'd either have to bring a new actor in, but still keep this guy's current storyline ongoing for the next movie, or he'd have to be actually really dead and they bring in another James Bond 007. Or they might keep the woman as the new 007 that's from this movie and not have a guy come back again. So yeah. I did hear about a woman taking over. I didn't realise she'd be in this movie. I thought they were contemplating having a female James Bond in a future movie and that she might be back. I didn't realise that she would actually be in this film besides James Bond, and they both be like 007s together with one of them like relinquishing the title at one point and then goes back to the other one, and then no doubt he's meant to be dead, so it'll go back to the other one. So that was quite interesting. I didn't know they put two 007s basically together. So I found that like very insightful, very interesting. That would be cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I like a woman playing James Bond. I mean, why would she be called James Bond? And at the end of the movie, I have to tell you something that most people might not know. All the credits went up. The very end, I always stay till the end of the credits. When every credit's finished, it says James Bond will return. So if James Bond will return, unless they're going to call the woman James Bond, how can it return? Because James Bond is meant to be dead now at the end of the movie. It doesn't make sense. So they'd either have to carry on his character with a different guy playing it, or they'd have to bring in a new guy who happens to also be called James Bond, or they give him the title of James Bond undercover, even though he's got another name, or they might have to make the woman called James Bond, as in her name's Jamie, shortened to James, because I know they can call some women Jamie these days. Or they might call James as short for some other female name that I don't know about. So yeah, I mean, they've made the woman so she's more susceptible to pain. She's more worried about playing by the book. So she's meant to have a more traditional female type of brain, stereotypal brain. Even though she's got really short hair. She plays this undercover agent at the beginning where she's wearing this dress and long haired wig. And then you find out she's James Bond's like replacement, and she's got really short hair. So she's meant to look a little bit tomboyish, I think, But, I'm not sure whether I like a female character playing it. I think it would be very different. I'm not sure that it would stand up. I think they've made her a bit too feminine in her mind, not in her looks, but in her mind. With like worrying about playing by the book. I mean, James Bond has always gone off, but I mean, unless they had that in the beginning, she plays by the rules, and then they have her thinking, she plays by the rules, and she realizes she's going to get hurt doing that, so she decides to go AWOL a bit and starts playing by her own rules more, if you know what I mean. So yeah, because my mum says they've never killed a James Bond off in the whole of the other movies. I mean, in realistic terms, it probably would happen at some point. So yeah, I don't know, because the title's just weird. It's like, why is it No Time to Die? If there's no time to die, he can't be dead, can he? Because there's no time to die. So I know it's it's very up in the air at the end of the movie. It's very like, well, what actually happened to him? I thought they could even bring the character back who was supposed to be the innocent one, who was supposed to have the vehicle smashed on him, because you never actually, because James Bond said he's dead, but you never saw the body to him either. So you could bring him back again, hunting for James Bond. But yeah, so I kind of felt with the fact they hadn't actually got a body, they didn't do a funeral or anything, that he could still be alive. And when it said James Bond will return at the very, very end of the credits, it's like, well, he's got to come back then. Because if it's specifically called James Bond, the movie still, how can they actually not bring a James Bond back? It would be ridiculous. That's like having a show like the Oprah Winfrey show with no Oprah Winfrey. Do you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work. So yeah, it's very interesting. But the film is incredible. I mean, I've given away a lot of the whole storyline, pretty much. There's a couple of other bits that I haven't said, but you've got all the main storyline from beginning to end in a succinct as much as possible, you know? So it was kind of really sad at the end. But I was thinking at the end, like, I want to see his face again. I wanted to see James Bond, like, you know, I was hoping in the credits they would show him on this island again. Like, he'd got off and he was healthy, but everyone thought he was dead. And all the papers said he was dead, but really he's back on an island, secret island somewhere. But they didn't show that. They just said James Bond will be back. So, yeah, I found it intriguing. I'm like, well, is he actually dead or not? Because without a body and without a proper funeral, in my mind, he's not dead. But they did this thing at the end where he was supposed to be dead, and they read this bit, I think, passage from the Bible, a couple of lines from the Bible, meant to be philosophical or whatever, which was quite interesting. I can't even remember what they were. And they're supposed to be doing a toast to him because he's supposed to be dead. But yeah, I just thought, well, he can't. If it's no time to die, how can they make him dead? Because there's no time to die. And the only way I can see the No Time to Die title would actually be relevant is if he got off the island, because there's no time to, like, literally the bombs are coming to bomb him. You see him standing there, and then the camera pulls back, so you think the bombs have hit him. But the only time I could think the title would be actually the right way would be if he jumped off the island and there's no time to die, because he hasn't got time to think because the bombs are right, but it's like got no time to die either. So he's like jumped off. And they picked him up on a plane. That's the only thing I can think. I'm like, why else would they do that title? It's really weird. Because there's other people that die in the films I haven't told you about. So it's like kind of like, unless it's to do with the fact he died inside because he's poisoned for life. So he'll always be dead inside in that way, because the poison specifically for the woman he loves, but he can't be with that woman. And in the end, he basically says that she was the love of his life above everyone else and every other woman he's ever been with, basically. And so, you know, unless that's what it means, there's no time to die because he's already dead inside. So, you know, he's all the love he has for this woman, he can never be with her. So I don't know if that's what it meant metaphorically. But yeah, I still didn't really get that. So anyway, it's a really, really good movie. There are other characters in it. Like there's this scientist guy in it, biological expert guy in it. He plays a major role in it. There's this other guy that plays a major role that's in prison that I haven't said about. It's just very good. I was very impressed with the woman who played James Bond's relationship. The woman that someone said it was his wife, but it wasn't, I don't think. But she had his kid. I thought she was very, very good in it. I thought all the women were good in it. They had a money penny in it. They had the classic James Bond music for it. Martini shaken not stirred bit in it. So they had like a lot of classic Bond stuff in this film for the Bond fans. I thought that was amazing. So the sex scenes, like, you didn't actually see them having much sex. You saw kind of like she was on top of him and then she moved off of him. So, and you saw her stroking his chest at one point and kissing his chest and undressing each other, and you saw her wearing this thing but not anything else top, basically. But yeah, it's implied sex, and she was on top of him for a bit and then she came off him, so you don't know if she came out of him or they were already out of him. Or I don't really want to go into much about that. It makes me a bit but the woman, this other woman that was undercover at one point, James Bond with this dress. It literally like was, you know, strips down her boobs. I'm like, how can you hold that? How can it hold in place when she's then kicking ass later on? I didn't get that at all. And I just found that so awkward. I'm like, I was going like this in the cinema, thinking, please hurry up and get off this cinema, get off the screen. Because I know that I had to keep watching the movie. Well, I didn't have to. I mean, I can look away. But I mean, I know I kind of had to get, for the storyline, I had to kind of keep looking at the movie at that point, as in listening to the storyline, because they were about to kick ass with the baddies. So, yeah, but most of the time, the actual nudity or partial nudity and sex are just like distractions from the main actual core of the storyline, you know. But you actually felt that James Bond did actually really genuinely love this woman in the film, which I think was very different to the majority of the characters in the previous movie. Not the woman who drowned, but the majority of the previous roles. And I never felt like he really cared, more like he was just like using them for sex, if you know what I mean, because that was the type of guy he was. But in the end, he's supposed to be, I think, a lot more settled, know what he wants in his life. But that's meant to be a twist. He's finally found, you know, like something to live for other than killing people, and something he wants to protect and be with for the rest of his life. But he can't actually be with her in the end. So yeah, I definitely recommend seeing it. I think it's an absolutely incredible movie. Really amazing action scenes, fantastic stunts. I do think Daniel Craig is amazing at doing his own stunts. Very gritty, very realistic stuff. Loved the car. The car was amazing. I'm like, wow, this car does so much. He has a gadget with a watch as well, but it's not been tested. So Q gave him this watch, and that's quite interesting as well, what happens with the watch. And, you know, I just found the female characters are very strong in this. I love that. I did love the storyline. I thought it was really good. I just found that it was a great balance between action, stunts, romance. Wish it didn't include the sex bit, but never mind. Wish it didn't have the scantily clad dress, but never mind. And I just thought it was very, very good. I mean, there's a lot of the time James Bond is literally killing multiple people at once off. And it's very clever the way he does it, you know? It's like, oh my God, there's this guy coming at him now. There's that guy coming at him now. And he still manages to get through them all. It's like, I thought the fight scenes were really, really good. And the bits where he's kind of jumping from buildings and stuff, it's just incredible. Like with the car and stuff. Like, the way they use vehicles in this is very good. I think the camera work's amazing with the stunts and the vehicles. I think it's incredible. I just really loved it. I thought it was so much better than the trailer, though. I honestly, from the trailer, I wasn't that fussed about seeing it or not. I thought, oh, well, if I don't see it. But then I thought, well, if you watch the rest, Sandra, it'd be nice to finish kind of like the Daniel Craig storyline off, really. And it was cheaper where I was going, and I like to have a full day if I'm out, so it worked well. But I was just like blown away. I'm like, this is amazing. This is so much better than the trailer. I'd highly recommend going and seeing it. Don't miss it, because I think you will be kind of like on the edge of your seat some of the time, and you will be thinking, wow, this is just amazing. The camera work, the vehicle, there's the stunts, you know, the kind of all the special effects of the car does, if you like. I don't know how much of that was like real or special effects, but it's really, really good. You know, and so yeah, definitely give it a watch. So I'm going to conclude this video, but thank you for watching, Heather. Lots of love. If you do go to see the movie, I'd love to know what you think of it yourself. And for anyone else who's watching, I'm sorry if I spoiled things, but I did tell you not to watch this video if you don't like spoilers. Some people love spoilers. They don't mind knowing what happens. They still want to see it for themselves. And I think actually the fact I said the trailer doesn't do it justice is a really good thing, because if I was skeptical about going to see it, I think I'm not bothered to see it or not. But then I read, you know, like I saw my review, heard my review on this channel, then I think, oh, I definitely want to go and see it now. Thanks, Heather. Yeah, so lots of love to you, and lots of love to anyone else who's going to be watching this on replay. I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. As always, take care, embrace your inner ace, and I'll see you soon. Embrace your quirky. Take care, lots of love. Thank you for watching, Heather. Love to you. Bye. Bye, everyone.